All right, I have to do. I have to talk about this Beast Wars #2, and it's good to read comics when you're writing comics because it helps inform how you should and should not write comic books. This is not meant to be personal or anything like that. This is I paid for a book, read it, and I have some feedback from a comic writing perspective. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the art. We kind of already talked about that, but I just like Beast Wars and I want this to be great. The problems are many. One being that this is the best panel in the whole book, and it's just a headshot that takes up an entire page. That's one thing. But what you have here is what they call what maid and butler dialogue. I think that's the technical term, but it's basically two heads talking, and they're literally telling you everything that's happening. Now, sometimes in comics, you have to clarify, and you see something in a panel, but you want to make sure that people understand what it is that they're seeing, and so you're going to tell them to sort of reinforce what's happening. And so Rhinox is saying, there are floating mountains in the sky. The panel shows us that there are clearly floating mountains in the sky. Now, a better way to do this would be, like in the panel above, he says it's a patchwork world, biomes that couldn't exist, couldn't or shouldn't coexist side by side, but they do. So he's telling us something, but he could be telling us something like this, and we could be seeing this, floating mountains in the sky. What you'd actually do is he's telling, he could still be showing us with his words, but he's still telling us something, but you could achieve that without a separate panel that is just saying exactly what you're seeing. You're being told while shown it. So the result is that when you write a comic like this, you're going to read through the comic book and start ignoring the visuals because it might as well be a novel. They're telling you everything that is happening. They're spoon feeding it to you. Now, if this was a little bit more confusing and it needed some explanation, then it makes sense why you'd want to have the panel, the lettering tell you explicitly what's going on. But in this case, I mean, it's just not the case. So, as I've been writing for single issues in mind, I have sort of a mental, unofficial checklist of things that I want to do that has drastically improved my writing. And one of those is you think of a panel as a short, or a single issue as a short story in and of itself. And it's a comic book. You should have some action in it. Now, there is some action in this, and I'll show you what the action is. But the action should be there, but also something memorable or interesting should happen. And that's in all writing, memorable or interesting. So here's action, talking heads telling us everything. There's action, a single panel swatting fruit out of his hand. That's I guess. So this right here, again, like just same exact panels duplicated. This is the conflict. Okay, we're at foot level. This is the conflict of the story. Now, another problem here is that it is rolling talking scenes. And usually when you're writing, you want to have, you want to break things up. You want to have contrast in your writing. It's not just about contrast in the artwork. It's about contrast in the writing. That means if you have a long scene with exposition, then the next scene better read faster. It better not be another long scene of exposition. And what we have here are literally talking heads. They're just heads. And they're showing up doing more talking, and then we roll back into this scene, and we're rolling back in. Now all of a sudden we're in Megatron's, we're on the Predacon side, and we're hearing more talking heads. These scenes have all pushed together into one big. There's the next action scene right there. It's one big talkathon, and you're being told everything. Now, I think part of the trap is, when you're writing, is you're thinking, I want to build up to these important moments that I have planned. The problem is that the build up is boring. Build up can be filled with interesting things, interesting scenes that show us something. What has happened? How would I describe to somebody what happened so far in this issue? I would describe it as everyone has been sitting their butt in their base talking. That is what has happened. There hasn't been any plot. It's been just discussion of what is. They're telling us everything. So finally, scene change. We're, over halfway through the book? Scene change on the roof of, I presume, what is the spaceship. And the new character, Bat, whatever her name is flying away. Okay, eventually here. There we go. Boom. Action is happening. I can tell you now, they've spoken the base, and now she's flying away. That is what the plot has consisted of. Yes, we jumped back and forth between Predacon base and Maximal base, but still, it's just been standing around and talking until this important moment. A bat flying off the top. I'm exaggerating a little bit when I say it's important. It's not, though this took, 3 pages to accomplish? Yeah, 3 pages. Flying away. All right. So, more talking in the base, some conflict. This conflict looks like faces looking at each other. Again, you can show conflict through the panels by making a scene interesting. Make something else happen so that the pictures are actually showing us another narrative. Here you have finger pointing, which is fine, but you could have something else going on. What is what's his name? Triantulus. What is he doing? He's just sitting at a computer. What could he be doing that shows his sinister motives? That's a great question. All right, so here's the big action scene. This is it. There's a fight in the air. There's some shooting. Pew, pew, pew. And new character, Bat. I can't remember. Bat Girl. She gets shot down. I guess I'm kind of showing a lot of this. I don't know if it matters. The point is, even in an action scene, how many times have you seen somebody get shot down? How can you make getting shot down interesting? There could be so many ways to do it and show something else. Needless to say, I'm pretty disappointed in this issue. And my biggest disappointment perhaps is, why did I get cover A? When this is the only reason I'm buying this book, is so I can have some Beast War comics. I could have got this cover B, which this at least I would have been happy about this sitting on my spinner rack, because that art just looks significantly better. So anyway, my point is, you can always get better at writing comics, but it's important, if you're releasing it in single issues at any point in time, to look at what you're doing and to say, what is memorable about this scene? What am I showing the reader with the visuals? Talking heads is not showing them anything. I get it. Sometimes you have to do talking heads. They come up. But your characters can be doing something. You can change the location up to make it interesting, other than just cockpit. Like there has to be other locations within the ship even. You can do small things to make those visuals interesting and tell us more about the characters by what they're doing, even in talking scenes. And that's going to make for a much better story. Anyway, so I'm still gonna follow this just because I'm interested to see where it goes. So far, though, I'm still wishing that I could be writing Beast Wars. So there's a little bit of that in there as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.